Hello and welcome to the video for Thursday, October 8th for interactive design. I'm going to go ahead and let people in from the waiting room. Hello guys, how you doing? I'm good, Trevor. What's new? Anything interesting happening in your end of the world?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi Spike, how are you? Let's see. Bummed about EVH. Okay. I hate to be ignorant, but what is EVH? So, for the rest of you guys, oh, Eddie Van Halen, of course, yeah. Uh, yeah, Eddie was so great, and he seemed like such a nice guy. That is an incredible bummer. Such a talent, you know. Um, yeah, it's really sad. We've lost a lot of musicians in the last couple of years, and some of them to COVID too, which is really sad as well. Um, yeah, I totally get that, Trevor, and I feel your pain there. Um, let's see. Let me go ahead and while we're waiting for some more people to come in, let me go ahead and put you guys in the attendance for today. Okay, so interactive design and let's do that. Emergency. Let's see. Attendance. Okay. All right. Looks like we got our attendance squared away. And let's see now, Spike. How are you doing on the whole presentation front? Not yet. Don't have it. Okay. All right. Okay. So let me go to the class website. And let's view this. Go to interactive design. And let's see. So, well, we have the Lindo tutorial to do today. Let me share my screen here so you guys can see some of this stuff. Um, okay, so we've got the Lindo tutorial to do today. I want to talk a little bit about the Halloween project, and then we have another tutorial to watch here, which is about putting video in your projects. Let me let some more people in here, and let me move this one down to the bottom. Okay, so let's see. James says, hello, I have my brother here with me, so I'll be communicating via chat. Okay, thanks, James. Hello, nice to have you. Hi, Amelia, how are you doing?
Hi, Greg. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Um, all right, so the first thing I want to check in with you guys on is a question about a deadline for this second project we're working on, which is a Halloween project. So I want to check in with you guys and see when you think you might be able to finish this off. So let me just start by throwing a date out and see how you guys feel about it. So uh, what if we agreed on a week from today, which is which would be Thursday, October 15th? Is that a reasonable timeline for you guys to finish your Halloween ad?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do that. Let's have that be the deadline. And I'll put that on the website. In fact, I'll put it on right now. Let's see. Edit. Edit. Okay, and then we'll go here and we'll say set deadline for. Okay, so we'll just change this to the deadline for the Halloween project is next Thursday. Uh, sorry, I got all this crazy stuff. No. Don't pop up on my screen, you crazy weird stuff. Is next Thursday, uh, October 15th. Okay. And I'll put that in bold so people will see that. All right. And then we will update this. I can't see my damn update button. There it is. All right. Cool. Okay. So we got that set. Now, the next thing is, let's see. James says he can handle that. All I need to do is type up my idea. Trevor, was I supposed to do a presentation today? Well, let's see, Trevor. Interactive design. The answer to that question is yes. Do you have one ready? You have one. So, do you want me to? Right, you can't speak. I know you can't speak. So, do you want me to play it? To go into your folder and show it? Okay, not a problem. All right, thanks for mentioning that. I forgot to put you up on the schedule there. Um, okay, let's see. Let's go to your folder. Trevor. I figured out something cool. It only took me half the semester to figure it out, but if you're in Firefox and you're looking for somebody's Google Drive folder, you have to like search for their email and then find the correct email where they shared the folder and then go click on that. But in Google Drive, because or if you use Chrome, because it's a Google product, it just takes you right to the folder, which is incredibly awesome. So let's see. So we just have to go Trevor 252 and don't tell me color trends. And then we're going to open this and we're going to hit present. And then let me make that a little smaller. Okay, so let me tell you, Trevor, this is my idea. I'll go through and read this and present it for you, and then if you have anything additional you want to say, or you want to, have me slow down or go back or whatever, why don't you just type it in the notes there, the chat. Does that sound good? There's videos as well. Okay, awesome. All right, so this is Trevor's presentation. It's about color. Um, so he says, each year Pantone chooses a color of the year, and this year is classic blue. Ironic choice. I mean, hopefully we're not all feeling too blue. It's pretty funny. Luckily, blue can also mean stability, and we definitely need something stable this year. Okay, so there's the Pantone blue color for the year. Did you guys know that they always choose colors for the year? You guys aware of that? Well, what they do, and they do this in advance, there's actually something called the Color Council out there. And what they do is every year they select a palette of colors, which will be the official colors for that year. And those colors are actually used by retailers and manufacturers all throughout the world. Fashion designers will take that palette of colors and design, blouses and shirts and pants and things. Paint companies will release those colors as the paints of the year. Products will come out with those colors. So every year, this color council, this mysterious conspiratorial color council, makes these decisions for all of us and then puts it out there, and then that's what we get that year. Okay. So sorry about the segue there, the sideline there, sidebar. Colors with meaning. Adding colors with meaning can add more depth to your design. So here is a chart that shows you all of the different colors. Here's another one. It shows you, that red represents revolution and danger and gets attention. Orange is successful and happiness and friendly. Purple, of course, is associated with royalty. I always think of Prince and Purple Rain. Blue is dependable. A lot of banks and businesses that want you to feel secure have blue in their logos. Green, of course, is very natural, harkening back to the natural world. forests and grass. Black is very classy, and white represents purity, safety, and innocence. Um, okay. And Spike asks. I assume he's questioning about the color council. That's cool and all, but why? Well, I guess they figured out that somewhere along the line they figured out that if everybody introduced their own products and made their own decisions about colors, that there would be this sort of cacophony of colors on the shelves. Every year, all the cars that would come out would be a variety of different colors. Nobody could say that these were the colors for fall in fashion. Graphic designers wouldn't know what colors to use for their websites and their products. So somewhere along the line, it just became regimented. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to stick to that, but it becomes a baseline, a reference point each year. Okay. In fact, actually, after we're done with this presentation, let's go look them up on Wikipedia and see what it's all about. Okay, here's a helpful video that further explains colors and their emotions and the emotions they provoke. Okay, so open link.
Need a professional logo for your brand? I've used the new Wix logo maker to create one for my startup. I'll show you how.
Did you know that the colours that you've chosen for your brand have an emotional response with your viewer? Hey there. If I were to ask you, what emotional response do your customers get from the colours that you've chosen for your brand? Would you know? Would it be something that you've thought about when you've developed your brand? Or have you just picked a colour that you personally liked? Colours have an amazing effect on people. Someone could look at your brand identity and form an opinion of your brand without ever trying your service, sampling one of your products, meeting you, meeting any of your staff. Colour will already start to form an opinion in their head of what your brand is all about. So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the main colours, run through them, and give the positive effects and positive words and emotions that these colours can set off in someone's mind, but also some of the negative wording that can be set off in people's heads when they look at a colour. So let's make a start on that. The first colour that we're going to look at is blue, and the positive connotations that we can have from blue would be that it's honest, it's calm, it's trustworthy, it's caring, and it's secure. We'll find a lot of financial institutions use blue for their branding. The downside of blue, though, is that it can also come across as cold or miserable. Next up, we've got red. I like red. I have red in my branding. The positive effects of red would be things like it's dynamic, it's passionate, it's exciting, it's got energy, and it's also associated with love. The downsides are that it's also portrayed as dangerous and angry. Next up, we've got orange. Orange is friendly and sociable, it's happy, it's warm, and it's confident. But it's also used for signs that display on trucks carrying toxic waste. So, it has that connotation as well. It's also relatable to sluggishness. Following that, we've got yellow. Now, yellow is sunshine. That's the first thing people think of with yellow. You've then got it's playful, it's optimistic, and it's joyful. The negatives of yellow: unstable and a bit irresponsible. Next on our list, we've got green. Now, green is organic, it's fresh, It's to do with health, it's natural, and it's also caring. But then again, we've got some negatives, and those are envy and jealousy. And what about purple? What do we associate with that colour? The positives would be luxury, royalty, spirituality, ambition, and wealth. Negatives, moody, and a bit funereal. I've got my second favourite colour, which is black. The positives for black: sophistication, authority, elegance. It's dramatic. And it's also, it's not a word I like to use, but a lot of people would say it was classy. And then the big drawbacks to black: it's associated with death and with evil. Then we've got the opposite of black, we've got white. And white can be seen as pure, fresh, goodness, innocence, and clean. But its drawbacks are it can give feelings of isolation or emptiness. So those are single colours that you could use in your brands. But what if you want to go for multiple colours, like Google, who have multiple colours? What does that give across when people are thinking about it? Well, if you use multiple colours in your logo, the positives for that would be that it's bold, it's positive in itself because you're using quite a few colours, it's playful, it can represent multi-channels in the brand, and it's boundless. It's not constrained by any one colour. The negative to multicolour logos is they can, if they're not carried out well, they can look a bit childish, which would affect people's feelings on your brand in that way. So as we can see, colours have got quite a lot of effect on your brand. So during the branding process, or even afterwards, you can still go back, have a look at what you've chosen, and see if it's what you want to reflect outwards from your brand to your audience. And if it's not, maybe have a little look and a little think about how you do want to be perceived, and take a look at a colour chart. So until next time, stay creative.
What do you guys think? You think he was spot on, or you have any disagreements with what he said? So Spike says, this is one reason I brand myself with purple and black. So let's see, purple is regal and black is elegant and graceful. Is that kind of why, Spike?
Yeah, like kind of noble ambition, but kind of also the more neutral, the neutrality of black. So that's the kind of pairing.
Nice. Yeah, that's an interesting combination, black and purple, because I think of both of them as kind of darker colors. And well, obviously black is a dark color, but it's an interesting combination. I don't know of a lot of logos that that use those colors, so it's also unique in that way. Okay, let's go back to the presentation here. That was a very nice video. All right, so here's the next slide. Relationships and colors. Color relationships are incredibly important to design and help give a design the edge and pop they need. So you can see here some of the different color harmonies. There's analogous colors, which are colors that are similar. There's complementary colors, which are across from each other on the color wheel. Triads, which are, you know, in sort of a little peace symbol across from each other. Monochromatic, all based on the same color. Tetrad, which is some sort of weird double complementary. A split complementary, which looks kind of like the peace symbol over here. Sorry about that. And a square. So, you know, obviously there's all these different color harmonies, color combinations you can use to produce your products. Now here's the 10 commandments of color theory. Number 1, know the color wheel well. Do you know what each color signifies? And we just learned about that. Number 2, match it. Do not overlook the austerity of analog colors. Okay, so we want to make sure your color matches everywhere that you go. Number 3, can't match it, clash it with complementary colors. Okay, so let's look at some of these examples here. We'll look at the wheelchair, for example. So right here, if you're using analogous colors like this orange and this yellow, you can make something look really cool by having colors that are very similar to each other. However, you can also go with complementary colors which have high contrast. And by the way, each of these designs here shows you examples of that, right? Okay, the next one, sorry about that, is the contrast too intense, then split it. So in other words, this would be, one of those sort of split complementaries that we saw. Now you've got kind of a purple with the yellow and maybe a blue there as well. Need more variations? Do double complementaries. So here is, a wildly different. We've got complementary colors. Sorry about that. I think I'm going to go back to using my crappy mouse because my Apple mouse just is too overactive. Here we've got complementary colors like sort of orange and blue, and then some other strange colors like purple in there. Go triad with 3 different hues. Choose from a greater variety. And look at all the strange colors in that. Sometimes monochromatic is the way to go, where everything is variation on the same color. Achromatic would be gray, black and white. You could use hues, tints, and shades, which is all just different lightnesses applied to one color. And lastly, RGB, CMYK, and Pantone are not the same. So you could use different color modes, right? So this is really interesting. If for example, you were going to design a logo, just for fun, you could take that logo and you could try it in all of these different using all these different color palettes. And who knows, you might come up with something really different and unique that you would never have thought of and that you like. Okay, so why is color important? Scientists have uncovered that humans feel first and think second. When confronted with sensory information, the emotional section of the brain can process the information in 1/5 of the time the cognitive section requires. So in other words, you feel before you think. Emotions also have a large impact on brand loyalty. According to the Temkin Group, in a 2016 study, they found that when individuals have a positive emotional association with a specific brand, they are 8.4 times more likely to trust the company, 7.1 times more likely to purchase more, and 6.6 times more likely to forgive a company's mistake. To sum it up, colors are important to brands because they give an emotional response. We the people feel before we think. If your colors stand tall and aren't jarring, you're sure to make somebody feel something. But the question to consider is, what do you want consumers to feel about your product service? Got to make people feel like they want your product. Shut up and take my money, right? Now, I don't think any of these are actually links, are they? You'll tell me when there's another video, Trevor, I hope. Or maybe it'll just say. Okay, some do's and don'ts of colors. Here we go. This would be an example of a video.
Ever seen colors that seem to vibrate when they're placed next to each other? The solution is to tone it down, literally, and there's a simple way to do it. Start with one color and try adjusting its lightness, darkness, or saturation. Sometimes a little contrast is all your color palette needs. Readability is an important factor in any design. Your colors should be legible, engaging, and easy on the eyes. Sometimes that means not using color, at least not in every little detail. Neutral colors like black, white, and gray can help you balance your design, so when you do use color, it really stands out. Every color sends a message. It's important to consider the tone of your project and choose a color palette that fits. For example, bright colors tend to have a fun or modern vibe. Desaturated colors often appear more businesslike. Sometimes it just depends on the context. You'd be surprised how flexible color can be. You can find ideas for color schemes in all kinds of interesting places, from advertising and branding to famous works of art. You can even use a web resource to browse color palettes or generate your own. Even experienced designers take inspiration from the world around them. There's nothing wrong with finding something you like and making it your own. Everywhere you look, there's color, color, and more color. It can be intimidating to use it in your work, but it doesn't have to be. Just keep experimenting and remember what you've learned about color theory. Soon, choosing great-looking colors will feel like second nature. We hope you enjoyed learning the basics of color.
Okay, so that was also a nice video. You picked some good videos here. Okay, all in all, color has a lot of impact and can be utilized to strengthen your design if used correctly. Some questions to consider: what am I trying to make a consumer feel? Does the color reflect the message I want to give? How do I feel when I see this? I like this, probably the best season of Stranger Things, the last one there. And then here are your sources. Okay, nice job. Woo! I think you did a great job there, Trevor. You picked some nice videos and you had lots of good information. Okay, so what do you guys think about that? Do you have any comments yourself about color? Do you agree with most of what we saw here? Do you have your own thoughts you'd like to share? Any thoughts from you guys?
This reminds me that I should be thinking about color when I do my projects and thinking about how it'll make my audience feel.
Right, because most of the time we tend to think about ourselves first. We pick colors we like, right?
Hmm.
Without necessarily considering how people are going to react to them. So, you know, if you take that second step, your designs could be more successful because then people will hopefully react the way you want them to. Okay, so let's take a second and go look. Let's see if we can look up the Color Council and see why they exist. Let's see. Color Council doesn't exist. Okay, well, it's not in Wikipedia, but I know it exists. Inter-Society Color Council. Oh, maybe that's what it is. The ISCC is the principal professional society in the field of color in the United States, encompassing the arts, sciences, and industry. Pursuant to our aims and purposes. La, 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 la. The history of the council dates to its founding in 1931, with the goal of advancing the knowledge of color as it relates to art, science, and industry. Each of these fields enriches the others, furthering the general objective of color education. Let's see. Function. Sorry. See, I thought events or membership. Well, I guess I don't know if it's these guys or who it is, but I'll probably have to do some research into it. But so it seems like those guys are the main guys. But let me just check this one real quick. The Color Association of the United States. Huh. Okay, so this one says Color Association of the United States, and of course that's not international like the other one. But okay, here we go. Forecasts. This is interesting. Oh, this is so cool. Check this out. So they have forecasts of what the color trends are going to be in future years. So let's see, like if we go to interiors in 2018, 2019, oh, bummer, it's a members only feature. So in other words, if you sign up to be a member of this group, you can log in and you can see what all the planned colors are for the next 3 or 4 years, and then you can do things like design your products to match those colors. So this is a for-profit entity, but I think that color council we saw before is probably the one that sets standards for the world. So anyway, I'll have to do a little more research on that and we can come back to it. All right, let me go back to the class website. It's over here, I think. Okay. All right. So, all right. So, what I'd like to do is have us continue on that Linda tutorial. And so, let's see. Do you guys want to see my animation that I made earlier today? Let's see. Here we go. Are you prepared to be amazed? You should be. Here we go. Woo! um, so this animation is I made this in the animation class. This is demonstrating something called the principle of arcs. And what it is that everything in the universe moves in an arc unless it's a robot, right? And so what I did was, I decided I want to draw a little bunny jumping over a log. So I put an arc in on a separate layer, and then I use the principles of squash and stretch. So he squashes down a little bit, and then he stretches up, and he's the most stretched at sort of the apex of his jump. He kind of starts to squash back down. He hits the ground. He's kind of squashed when he hits, and then he stands back up, right? And so when you watch the whole thing, let me see if I can turn the arc back off. It looks like he's jumping over the log, right? Okay, but that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to access, don't tell me this one, everyday things. Okay, and so now, here's the hard part. I gotta find the, here it is, right here. Oh, I'm so lucky, it's right there. Okay, so I'd like you guys to open this file so we can continue learning about this. I really like this tutorial because he goes through so many different aspects of the design process for ads. And so far we've learned about, creating masks and doing these, what are they called? Movie clips, like the one that has all the different baskets or the different bowls in it. He's done interesting animations. He's added in fonts from Typekit. And now we're going to learn a little bit about publishing. So let's go ahead and start this video here and learn about exploring the publishing options for this animation.
So now that we've finished designing and animating our advertisement, now we can take a look at some of the publish settings. Now you can get to publish settings in the properties panel if nothing is selected by clicking the publish setting button here, or you can go to the file menu and come down and choose publish settings.
Okay, so let's start there. So if we go into Adobe Animate, let's see. If you go to publish settings here, this is something kind of new in this version of Animate. He's of course using a older version of Animate. But in the current version of Animate, you actually have some of the publish settings right here that you can change, like the frame rate, the background color, the size of the file, and of course you can make it so that if your animation that you make is going to be on a website, if you click scale content, the content of the animation will get bigger as people make the browser bigger. So it'll basically make the ad what we call responsive. It will respond to the size of the browser. And then there's these apply to pasteboard and scale spans. I don't really use those, so I'm not quite sure what they are. But we can click here for more settings, and this will take us into a window that gives us even more options, right? And I think he's going to go through some of these settings, so maybe we'll leave that one up right now.
Now, when we're working with an HTML5 Canvas document, in the left-hand side, we'll see JavaScript/HTML, and we'll see a check mark here.
Okay, let me make sure that's the same one that's showing up here. Yeah. So here in your published settings, JavaScript HTML right over here.
This means that Animate will create an HTML and JavaScript file so that our animation can play in a browser. Below this area, we can see some additional publishing formats, a JPEG file, SVG, and an OAM. The OAM package is something that you can use in other Adobe applications, such as Dreamweaver, InDesign, or Muse. Under Output File is the JavaScript file that's being written. This JavaScript file consists of all of the instructions based on what we've done in the timeline and on the stage to recreate that same animation experience in the browser. And additional options include whether or not we overwrite the HTML file each time, whether the timelines will loop, whether we want to include hidden layers or not. Now, throughout the course, we did hide the button layer while we were authoring. However, when we publish the movie, that particular layer will be included. And we can also choose where individual assets are placed. The images are put into a folder named Images, then with a slash, and you can change these names. And changing these properties for the images, sound, or the JavaScript libraries will change the folders that are created by Animate when you publish as well. There's also a checkbox here for Combine into Sprite Sheets, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Under the Advanced tab here, you can choose whether or not the libraries are hosted on a CDN or Content Delivery Network. This means the Create.js file, for example, will load from the Create.js website. Next is Compact Shapes. If this is checked, then the vector output is compacted, meaning they're less human readable but more efficient. Now you can turn this off if you want to learn how the vector data is constructed by taking a look at the code after you've published the movie.
Okay, so let me stop for a second and go back in here. So, you know, there's all these different settings, but there's default settings because they think that's what will be the most helpful to you. But you can change those if you need to. For example, if you don't want your movie to loop when you publish it, you just uncheck that and it'll just play once. This is a big one, include hidden layers. If you have layers in there that you've hidden, you want to keep them there for some reason because you're constructing your document. But every time you play it, it shows those hidden layers. You got to turn that off, right? Now here's some other things you can do. You can center your document on the stage, or center the stage, which means that your document will actually come into the middle of the browser, right? Now, you probably wouldn't want to use that if you were putting an ad in that is going to be up in the corner of a page. But if it was just a standalone animation, you might want it to be centered. Also, this right here will make the full ad responsive, which means when people enlarge and decrease the size of the browser, your animation will get smaller or larger as well. You can also scale it to fill the visible area, which means it will fill the whole browser window. And you can also include a preloader, which is a little like a circle or something that spins until all of your files have loaded, and then it will play your animation, right? Now, I'm going to uncheck all these because these are all unchecked by default. Now, what he said is we're working in HTML5 canvas, right? And that's because that's the only thing that will actually work on the web. When you make an HTML5 canvas animation, there's a bunch of files that are created. First of all, it creates an HTML file, which of course will appear on the web. Then it creates a JavaScript file. And that JavaScript contains like all the ActionScript code to make the animation work. But the JavaScript file also uses what are called libraries. And the libraries are like programs that tell the JavaScript how it's supposed to function. And it actually accesses those libraries online. But also your ad, it contains things like images. So those are saved in an images folder. It might contain sounds. So those are saved in a sounds folder. And then of course here in a folder called libs, that's some of the JavaScript libraries are stored there. So in other words, if you make an ad for the web, you're going to end up with a folder with a bunch of other folders in it and an HTML file and a JavaScript file. And you're going to have to take all of that and put it on your website. Okay, so let's see what the next thing is that he wants to talk to us about.
And multi-frame bounds, if checked, will include the frame boundaries in a timeline symbol for each frame in the timeline. You may want to enable this if you need to target this additional data from another outside script or application. Below this area, you can define custom JavaScript namespaces for all of the scripts. And then up here in the tabs, I'll skip Spritesheet for a moment. Switching over to web fonts, this is where you can put in your typekit URL for the kits that you've defined in typekit. This way your Animate project knows how to authenticate the scripts that are available for your domain.
Okay, so let's see what we have for that. So it looks like they've removed that from this section. Let's see, we're in the basic section here. If we go to HTML, JavaScript, this looks like the page he was just on. And then if we go to image settings, I don't know that he's gotten here yet, but this just tells you that they're basically compressing your images into JPEGs, and you can change the quality. Now, what I suspect, the reason that the typekit thing isn't here anymore is because it's in the main interface now. You know, if you create a font, it's going to give you an option to bring in a typekit font, and it probably just automatically writes that information to the file nowadays, whereas before you had to put it in manually, it looks like. Okay, so let's see what's next.
And then finally back to sprite sheets. So sprite sheets are a way that we can take multiple graphics that we've imported, and Animate will create a single graphic with all of those individual graphics included inside of it.
Now, sprite sheets are normally, by default, Adobe Animate saves all of your images in a sprite sheet. Now, what that means is even though you upload each image individually to Adobe Animate, it takes all of your images and it puts them on one file. And then it does like a little mathematical calculation about the location of each file on that sprite sheet. And then as your animation plays, it brings the same file up, but only shows that little square which represents what needs to be shown at any given time. Now, the advantage to this is it's much quicker for the program because it only has one image to work with for your entire animation. Plus, it's also a smaller file because it has one image instead of, you know, a dozen different images. Now, if this sounds strange to you, like how could it use one image and display everything, just think about the fact that it's just information. And all the script needs to do is know what part of that information is shown at any given time, and it's okay. So that's called a sprite sheet, and that's what he's discussing right now.
So your advertisement can use one single graphic instead of a whole series of graphics. And we have three basic options for creating the sprite sheets. We can have a single sprite sheet that's created as a PNG file, or we can have a single sprite sheet created in the JPEG format. Now, the advantage of the PNG file format is that your graphics can contain transparency, and the advantage of the JPEG file is that the file is going to be much smaller. So you'll need to decide whether or not you need transparency in the images or you need a smaller file size. And there is a third option where Animate can create two sprite sheets. One sprite sheet in the PNG format for all graphics that require transparency, and another graphic in the JPEG format for images that don't. So back in Animate, we can see the option here for PNG, which will give us one graphic in the PNG format. We could change this to JPEG and then pick some quality settings, or we can come over here and click both. And
now let's see what they've got in the current version of Animate. It looks to me like they're not even, you know, once again, the current version is a evolution from what we were seeing before. So my guess is that what's happening here is they've taken all those choices that you had to make before, and they basically made them for you. So in other words, Animate, if it thinks that there's not a transparent background, it'll save it as a JPEG. If there is a transparent background, it's just going to save it as a PNG. So it's going to be as optimized as possible for you. You don't have to make these choices.
we'll get two sets of sprite sheets. And one additional note I'd like to make about the PNG sprite sheets is that if your graphics do need transparency and you change the bit depth settings here, make sure that the background is still set to none. And you can do that by clicking on the swatch and then coming over here and disabling the background color. If you don't do this and you publish your file, you'll see a background square around all of your elements, just like you would with a JPEG file. And once you have all your settings the way you want, which will be saved with this particular project, you can also come up here to the top, click on this gear, and choose Create a Profile to save this and share it with other projects. So finally, we'll come down, click Publish. Typekit will come up, alerting us to the fact that we are using a Typekit font and have not entered in a domain. So I'll come in here and add codifydesign.com and then click Publish. And now in the background, Animate will take all of our assets, publish our brand new files. It'll give us a few notes in the output panel. But if we go back to the exercise files, go into the My Add folder, open up the Images panel, In addition to the HTML and JavaScript, we can now see that we got a single sprite sheet with just one graphic for the countertop. We have our JSON data here, which explains the positioning and size of all 4 bowls that are included in this single sprite sheet. So now that we've taken a look at the publishing settings, next we'll take a look at lowering the file size of the images as well.
Okay, so let's see what happens there. So we go into Adobe Animate, we make all the changes we want, to these settings, and then we hit publish. Okay, so now it's going to publish our file. Now, publishing your file simply means writing all of these files to the same location where you saved your FLA, right? Now, I don't remember where I saved my FLA, so I'm going to do save as and try and figure it out. So it's inside of a folder called exercise files on my desktop, right? Now, if I look in my ad here, now unfortunately I've got a bunch of things saved in here because obviously I've saved it multiple times, but if you guys look inside your my ad folder, what you're going to find is there will at least be one file called everydaythings.fla, and that's this file we're working on now, right? But then there will be 2 other files, and mine was saved with multiple names, which is why there's like 6 of them. But there will be an HTML file, probably called everydaythings.html, and a JavaScript file, a .js file called everydaythings. In addition, there will be an images folder, and inside there will be whatever sprite sheets are attached to it. In your case, there's probably only one sprite sheet, which is a ping file, right? So they've really cut back on the amount of files that they make, But these are all the files that you'll need to upload to your website in order to get your ad to run. Okay, now we only have one more short video here. And this one is, well, actually, let me double check and make sure that's true. I don't want to lead you guys down a bad road here. It looks like, yeah, it looks like one final video, which is options for optimizing images, and it's only 1 minute and 16 seconds long. So let's watch this.
When creating a sprite sheet, choosing the ping option will convert all files to the ping format. Even JPEG files will be converted to ping, which will make them a little bit larger than their original JPEG format. And choosing to create a sprite sheet in the JPEG format will result in a much smaller file. However, JPEG files cannot contain transparency. Now, another option is to have Animate create 2 sprite sheets, one in the ping format for files that require transparency, and one in the JPEG format for images that don't require transparency. Now, one final idea for lowering the file size even more is to recompress the sprite sheet that you get from Animate in another compression application. Now, my favorite application on the Mac is called Image Alpha. By setting the number of colors to 30, you can reduce the file size to 232 kilobytes, which is 49% smaller than the image that we got directly from Animate. Now, if you'd like to explore this option further, using free software for the Macintosh, Windows, or even using a browser-based tool, check out this episode of Design the Web, where we explore optimizing ping graphics down to a fraction of their original size. And with that, we've completed our HTML5 banner ad in Adobe Animate CC. I hope you found some interesting animation techniques in this course, and as always, thanks for watching.
Okay, so interestingly, even though Adobe Animate has done a good job of, making everything as small as it possibly could, the software itself is not completely focused on making the smallest graphic file possible. So that means that there are other programs you can use. You could open up, like he did, the sprite sheet, which has all the images on it, and put it through some sort of optimization process where it reduces the color palette. And when you do that, the end result is that you get a smaller file, which results in a quicker upload time, and it will produce better results for you. Okay, so that's it. So if you guys like, you can watch your animation one more time. So control, test movie in browser. Of course, mine's really ginormous, which is why it's so pixelated. Right. Okay. So All right, so go ahead and save that file and use that as reference for if you ever want to use any of these techniques in your ads or your projects, you can have this as a reference for yourself. Okay, now the next thing I wanted to do, let me go back to the class website, is and by the way, if you came into the class a little late today, we set a deadline for project 2, which is the Halloween project, to be next Thursday, October 25th. Okay, now I have another short tutorial for us to look at, but before we do that, I want to check with you guys and see if anybody has a file that they'd like to share with us, whether it's more progress that they've made on their project 2 Halloween, maybe they want some feedback on it, or anything like that. Do any of you guys have a file you want to share with us? Okay, Grady, you've got a prototype. I assume it's in your folder. Or so James is typing up his idea right now. Well, let me, Grady, you can tell me if it's in your folder or if it's on your actual website. Let me see, in the folder. Okay, got it. 250. Let me see, Grady. Which one am I looking for, Grady? Let's see. He says it's a prototype. So maybe he named it prototype. I don't know. What's the name of the file, Grady? It's called dar252 neon lights. Maybe it's not in this folder. Fear. Yeah, I'm not seeing neon lights. Let me go into your general folder. See if I can see it anywhere in here. Okay, I'll look across the top here. Violet lights. Yeah, that looks like my AE folder. Third from left, third down. 1, 2, 3, third from left. This looks like your AE folder. Okay, well, here's your 250 folder. Third from left, third down. Okay, you got me stumped here, Grady. Maybe he said maybe those directions were for this folder, this other folder. Third down, 1, 2, 3, third from left. That's where I get it. But that doesn't say neon. Yeah, the purple one. Okay. All right. Ooh, wow. What do you guys think of that? Let's see. Trevor says spooky. I like it. James says nice.
I like the colors.
You like the colors, Livia?
Yes. Yes.
He's creepy, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, the colors are gorgeous. I think this is a good demonstration. Well, first of all, isn't it interesting, Spike, that these are the same colors that you use, right? The black and the purple. And I was just saying that I rarely see that, or I don't, maybe I just don't notice it much. But it's a really elegant color combination, or I guess instead of purple, we could call this violet. But I think this is a good example of effective use of graphic design and color, because we were just talking about color today, because this makes me want to go to this. Does it make you guys want to go? Yeah, so Trevor wants to go. Okay, Trevor, we'll meet down there and basically take some Molly and rave all night. Not really, but let's see. Yeah, I like this, and it's intriguing to me, and it makes me want to go. And it also feels consistent with the type of artwork that is used for these. So great job, Grady. Looks really, really cool. Okay. And so Trevor says, yes, it pulls you in. Good plan. All right. Very nice. I can't wait to see that project. All right. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share with us? Some work in progress or anything else? Okay. All right. So
Oh, I'm finishing something. When I finish, I send you a chat in the Zoom.
are you gonna send it to me? You're gonna upload it to the chat?
Yes, yeah, I guess it's more fast.
Okay. And then so you're gonna do that in a few minutes, or you're gonna do it now?
In a few minutes.
Okay, fine. All right. So let me think. Well, let's see. The tutorial that we're gonna do. Let me go here. I tell you what, guys. While we're waiting for that project, why don't we go ahead and download the files for this tutorial so we're all ready to go. So go to the class website, click on using HTML components, and then roll over this little pill-shaped button here and click Get Files, and it will download this folder called using HTML5 components.zip. So then you can uncompress that and open it up, and then double click on the file that's in there, and it will open up this file right here. Now I'll explain a little bit about this while we're waiting. So, you know, of course, you can include different types of media in Adobe Animate files, one of which is video. And of course, we know video is very effective. Now, in this case, what we have is an animation that looks like, you know, a street scene with all these cars going by with a, you know, cityscape in the back. And then we have this thing which is supposed to be a billboard. But of course, as you may know, in certain cities, they actually have animated billboards now. They have billboards that are composed of a bunch of little TV screens, and you can actually show video on them. So this would be an ad that you might have on a website that shows like the video on the billboard. Now, let me just test this movie and see what's happening so far right now. I think, let's see. Yeah. So basically what's happening right now is all the cars are driving by. Now my computer is being a little wonky today, so I don't know. It seems to be pushing all the cars together. Yeah, all the cars are just getting kind of funky, messed up together. Is that happening to you guys, or is it just me? I don't know. Try downloading this and opening it up, previewing it, and seeing if all the cars are, yeah, all linked together like that. Okay. Well, that's what mine is doing. But anyway, that's not the main purpose of what we're going to look at today. Today, what we're going to look at is bringing a video in and putting it on this image here. So let's see, it's pushing the cars together in mine as well. Okay. So, you know, maybe there's a setting that we're going to change when we do the actual tutorial. And some are cut off. Yeah, that's what I see as well. Okay. So let's see. Now, Livia, do you need a few more minutes?
Just a couple.
Okay. All right, so why don't we go ahead and start this tutorial, because I think it'll go pretty quick. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the website. Let's see. So I can turn this off. Close that. Let's see. Go back to the website, which is here. Okay, and then watch the video associated with this. Okay.
When working within an HTML5 Canvas document, we have the ability to use a full set of components for this platform. We do this through the Components panel. To access the Components panel, go to Window, Components. Now you'll see within the Components panel here, we have User Interface, Video, and jQuery UI.
I'm going to stop this for a second. Unfortunately, when I view videos like that in Firefox, it doesn't give me the ability to stop them. However, when I view them in Chrome, I seem to be able to stop them. So let me take this link here and copy it into Chrome, and I'll start the video over, and that way it'll give me the ability to stop it when I need to. Okay, so
When working within an HTML5 Canvas document, we have the ability to use a full set of components for this platform. We do this through the Components panel. To access the Components panel, go to Window, Components.
okay, so let's start there. So there's something called the Components panel here in Adobe Animate. Go to Window and then Components, and you'll get this little floating window that'll come up that has components on it.
Now you'll see within the Components panel here, we have User Interface, Video, and jQuery UI. I'm going to expand the Video set of components, where we have a single component here called Video. This allows us to drag an instance of the component onto the stage and then modify its properties.
Okay, so if we want to put a video in an ad, we can open up Components, we can open up Video, click on the video icon and simply drag it onto the stage here. Now let's see what happened. Mine did not work, strangely. Oh, and I see why. I'm on the wrong layer. The layer I'm on is called Road, and it's locked. So clearly I can't do anything on that layer. So make sure you're clicked on the very top layer, which is called Video, and then drag the item on there, and then of course you'll get this little component which will drop in.
With the video component instance still selected, let's change the position and size. I'm going to position this to around 681 and a Y position of 50.
Okay, so of course you can position things in Adobe Animate, by a grid system. The top left corner is considered 0, 0, the top left corner of your document. And then you can position your objects via the top left corner of the object and put it in, X amount of pixels going horizontal, Y amount of pixels going down. So what we want to do while that's selected is set the X point, which is the top point here, basically it's the distance from the left side of the page to 681, and the Y coordinate would be 50. So it's 50 pixels from the top of the page, 681 from the left of the page. So let's go ahead and set that. Oops, sorry, I launched the wrong program here. Okay, so over here, position and size, X 681. Oops, sorry, Adobe Animate, 681. Okay, and then 50. Okay, and that's going to position this thing right up in the corner of that billboard.
We'll also adjust the width to 550 and the height to around 309.
Okay, width 550, height 309. Now, your width and your height right now are locked because it wants to keep this thing in proportion. So click that lock to uncheck it or to unlock it. Make the width 550, make the height 309, and sure enough, it's going to distort that video to the size we need it to be. Normally, they have it locked so that, when you resize it, everything goes in perspective, but we don't want that at this point.
As you can see, the video component instance now completely covers the visual billboard in our background. What we'll need now is a video file to play back within this video component instance. Here we have this MP4 file, which we can use for this very purpose. To play back that file within our video component instance, with the component instance still selected on the stage, notice in the Properties panel we have a Show Parameters button. This comes up with any HTML5 canvas components that we have on our stage and can view the properties of. Clicking that brings up the Component Parameters panel.
Okay, so let's try that. So right? It looks to me like they've updated this because if you look over here, we don't see show parameters, but it might be in one of these other tabs here. We're going to have to hunt around for it. So let's see. Let's click on Tool. I don't see it. Frame. I don't see it. Dock. I don't see it there either. So maybe there's a separate window. Yeah, here it is. Under Window dropdown, go to Component Parameters, and it will open that up. Okay. And then go ahead and click on this and drag it down so you can see all the different parameters.
Where we can define autoplay, controls, whether it's muted or not, and whether it loops. I'm going to turn controls off, but I'll let it autoplay. I'll mute the audio, even though there isn't audio in this particular file, and I'll set it to loop.
Okay, so it's got all these nice settings in here. So what we want is autoplay, muted, and loop. So we want to turn off the controls. The controls, of course, would show play, stop, and rewind buttons. So we don't want that because we want it to look like a video that's just playing. We want to mute it, even though he says there's no sound. And of course, we want it to automatically play.
Of course, the most important parameter is the source. We need to point to the MP4 file itself here. So I'm going to click this edit icon and then browse to my source.
Okay, so let me stop this for a second. So now what you have to do is click on this little pencil icon here where it says source, and you're going to have to go into your computer and you're going to have to find the folder where you downloaded this file, and you're going to have to point to that MP4 folder inside of there. Now what I'm going to do first is go back to Firefox and find my download folder, find this HTML5 components folder. Okay, so that is inside downloads, and then let's see, using HTML5 components, and well, I'll be damned, I don't see the video in there. So that's a big, large, major bummer that he didn't give us the video, and I don't know why he would do that. So it probably means that we're going to have to grab a video from somewhere else, which is fine. Let's see. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a video, and you guys should do the same. And I'll show you a website we can go to grab that video. So let's see. Right now I'm in Firefox. So I'm going to go to videezy.com. videezy. And I'm just going to grab a simple video here. I'll just grab this one right here. And you can see it's a free download of a little video. I'll play it, see what it looks like. Okay, it's just this little vector art of all of this stuff popping up, right? Now I'll go ahead and click on free download. You can get any video you want. Just try and get a small little video like this. Don't get an HR, or a HD video, right? Now I'm going to save this video. It's called shoppingonline1.movie. And all I need to do now is figure out where it is. So it's going to be in my downloads. It's called shopping_online. And then I can go back into Animate, and I can click on that pencil, and I can point it to this movie, right? Shopping online. If I wanted to make my life even easier, I could copy this, and I could put it inside of that other folder, the using HTML5 components folder, which is where we're supposed to have a video. Okay, so I'm going to go inside here. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to paste in my video, the shopping online movie video, and now that'll be easy for me to find. So now I'll go back to Adobe Animate. I will click on this little source button here. I'll click on my folder. I'll go into downloads, and I'll go to the folder called using. Let's see, where is it? It's under using. ST using HTML5 components. I'll open that up, and then oh, such a bummer, such an incredible bummer. It's it's not going to let me use that because it's a .mov file instead of an MP4. Now, there's a solution to this, and I actually am glad about this because I want to show this to you guys because it's incredibly useful. I'm going to launch a program called Adobe Media Encoder. Now, if you guys have downloaded the Adobe suite of programs, then you probably have Media Encoder on your computer. If you didn't know about Media Encoder's existence, you may not have downloaded it from the Adobe site. And if that's the case, you know, then you won't be able to do this little thing that I'm doing here. In other words, if you don't have Media Encoder, why don't you guys do this while I'm launching this program? See if you can find a free MP4 video. Okay, so just type in like free.mp4 video. Just grab anything you can. Oh, here it says it took us back to VidEasy, but specifically looking at MP4 videos. Let's see if we can download an MP4 version of this video. I'll just download this and see what version it comes in at. Okay, it says QuickTime Player. Oh, this one is an MP4. So this is a dark-haired girl. I'm going to go ahead and save this file. Okay, and then I'll locate that file. I'll do the same thing I did before. I'll just copy this into my using HTML5 components folder. Now, if you guys can find an MP4 like this, you know, like I said, if you search free.mp4 file, it should take you to VidEasy, and you can get one of these images of the dark-haired girl. Okay, so let's see. Let's go using. Here it is. Okay, and now we paste this in. So now we have something called dark-haired girl. All right, so once again, we can go to Adobe Animate. And then this time when we click on the source button, we have this one lit up, dark-haired girl. We can hit open. And now here is a button that says match source dimensions. We want to uncheck that because we want this video to be resized to the dimensions that we told it to. Now, unfortunately, because this video that we're bringing in is not his specific video, it may look a little distorted, but it should come in at just the right size. So let's hit OK. And then now it says that there's a video there. Now we can test this out. Let's see, Control Test Movie in browser. Oh, there it is. There's our video of our dark-haired woman saying what or whatever, but we've got her muted, so she's not saying anything. Okay, what? I don't know. We don't know what, dark-haired lady. Okay, anyway, all right, that worked out for me. Now, hopefully it worked out for you guys too. I want to show you Media Encoder though. And now, like I said, if you haven't downloaded Media Encoder from the Adobe site, you should go out and get it because it's an incredible, useful program. So here's Adobe Media Encoder. What in Adobe Media Encoder is what's called a transcode program. And a transcode program takes files from one format and changes them into another. And it works in all kinds of formats. It can change, you know, JPEGs to PNGs or GIFs. It can change audio files like WAV to MP3. It can change movies from .mov to MP4, which is what we're looking to do right now, right? Because you remember the first file that I downloaded was an MOV. And so this is how it works. You grab your file that you want to change. In this case, I want to change this shoppingonline.mov, and you drop it into Media Encoder. So I just dragged it in there, and there it is, right? Now, you can see that what it's going to do is I brought in a file called .mov, and right away it's going to go ahead and translate it to a .mp4. In addition, I get to choose via this drop-down menu what size I want to make it. I can make it a default size for YouTube, a default size for Vimeo or Twitter, for mobile devices, Facebook, or et cetera, et cetera. So I'll just leave it at this, YouTube 480p SD format, right? Now, all I have to do to convert it is hit this little green arrow here, and it will go ahead and it will start to play my image down here, and it will convert it. Okay, so now I've got another MP4 in that folder. So if I wanted to, I could go back into Adobe Animate and I could change this file to now be linked to that other thing. So now there's something called Shopping Line 1 MP4. I could bring that in. And now when I preview this, I should get the shopping video on the bulletin board. And there it is. Now, for some reason, it didn't resize as nicely as the other one, and it's got the black bars on the top and the bottom. So I don't like that one as much. But at least I was successful in changing its format. Now I'm going to go back to the gray-haired girl because because I liked her a lot better. She looked better up there. So dark-haired woman, hit OK. And now when we preview this, we should have the dark-haired lady saying what? Okay, good. So we're happy. We got that. All right, cool. So now we can go on to the next step in the tutorial.
All right, so here is the hippovideo.mp4 we saw earlier. Open. And now it's pointing to that video right here. I'm going to untick the box that says Match Source Dimensions because I want the component to stay at the dimensions that we have chosen. And hit OK. All right, let's go ahead and test this by choosing Control, Test. And there's our fully rendered animation with the video playback in a loop upon the billboard.
Okay, now that's pretty much the tutorial. Now, the reason that I suspect that the cars are messed up is because this thing was made with a much earlier version of Adobe Animate. And so, it was probably made with like ActionScript 2.0, and now we're on ActionScript 3.0 or whatever. So that would be my reasoning for the explanation why these cars are jacked up. Like that the car is clearly a movie clip, which is, animating off to the left, and it's supposed to just loop and make the cars look like they keep coming, but it's jacked up somehow, probably because of outdated ActionScript, or JavaScript, I should say. And so that's something that, we're not going to go in there and fix it or whatever, but that's why it looks funky. But the whole purpose of this tutorial is just to show you how easy it is to bring video into your projects, right? So for example, this project you're doing now, the Halloween project, you could bring video in there if you want, if it's appropriate for your project. You could, let's say that your video was promoting a certain product, like maybe Trevor and Olivia both have these sort of Halloween parties that you can create, with fake friends, or a Halloween party at home. And if either one of those people were decided they wanted to make a little video to enhance their animation, they could make a little video, save it in MP4 format, and then just bring it into a little window in their animation, which would be really cool. And by the way, let's go ahead and turn on the controls for this. So down here where it says autoplay, let's turn off autoplay and let's click on controls. And now let's watch the video again, or the animation, I should say. And now what you're going to see is, you see the video of the girl up there, but she's not playing, and you have these controls. You have a play button, you have a sound mute button, you have a full screen video button, just like you see that YouTube has standardized, right? So now if you wanted to do an ad like this, and you wanted to say, click on the video to learn more about our product, then people could do that, or you could just have it autoplay, right? Now, there's even the potential for your entire animation to be a video. You could take this video and just fill up your whole screen with it. But in that sense, you know, you're just making a video, not really an animation. So it's better if your animation is a smaller part of a larger video. Okay, boy, these cars really look bad. They look like it looks like it's a parallel universe where everything is kind of skewed, right? Okay, so James says he has Media Encoder. He had to double check to make sure. It's a great thing to get. If you don't have it downloaded, make a note, download Media Encoder, because you'll find a lot of uses for it. Okay, so it looks like Olivia has downloaded her her ad as an SWF, so I'm going to click on that. Okay, it says security issues. Well, we're going to trust you. Hopefully you're not sending me malware that will crash my computer and end my life. Okay, let's see. So here's Livia's file. Wow, that's super cute.
It's just a coming soon, and that's
Okay.
it.
So, so Livia's animated a couple different things. She's got a flashing light in the house. She has this sort of bloody coming soon, you know, text. She's got witches and bats flying around, and then a little sort of creepy tree with red eyes and mouth. This is cool. I like it.
It's just a coming soon. It doesn't have nothing to do with the ad.
Okay. It looks good,
But I
though.
made something.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you made something. It looks really good. And it's definitely got a lot of cool components to it. You know, like I love the coming soon all splattered out in blood. I like the fact that this is lighting up and that's lighting up too, and the kind of craziness of all the creatures running around in here. So it demonstrates a lot of cool principles that could be inspirational for other people making their ads right now. So thank you for making that. It looks really good. Okay, and then Trevor says, that looks really great, feeling the Halloween vibe. Yes, I agree, Trevor. Okay, good job. That looks awesome. Close that. All right, very good. All right, so now let me go back to the class website, which is, don't tell me, right here, pima.dreamco.com. Okay, and then let me go back to interactive design. Okay, so I think where we are at this point, yes, I'm correct. I think I'm going to go ahead and give you some time now during the period to work on your projects. Remember that this project is due in a week, so now would be an excellent time for you to just really focus on it and see how far you can get on it. I'm going to, as usual, I'm going to turn my video off, but I'll keep my audio on. So if you have a question, just pop in and say hello and I'll answer it. Or you can even ask me your query through the chat here and I'll respond to you. So any questions before we all work on our projects here? Okay, so why don't you guys go ahead and start working on your projects and let me know if you have a question.